ABBA, and it's Jeremy Vine here. We will talk later on about, oh yes, it's really interesting, the 5G rollout and the way that people say that they have magnetic electrosensitivity, meaning that you really feel Wi-Fi in your body, in your mind, in your health, and you're dreading 5G. If that's you, call us.
On BBC Radio 2.
Now, are you somebody who's terrified of the introduction of 5G, the new phone thing, because you're sensitive to electromagnetic radiation and you think it could make your life unbearable? The MP for Stroud, Labour's David Drew, says more research has got to be done into the dangers of 5G before the mobile phone technology is rolled out nationally. His Gloucestershire town is home to a campaign group called Stop 5G Stroud. The group claims 5G is a more imminent threat to our health and the planet than climate change, and that people who suffer from what they call electromagnetic sensitivity will be particularly vulnerable to the radiation in 5G technology. People who say they experience adverse effects when they're near electromagnetic sources, such as mobile phone masts, describe all sorts of symptoms, including fatigue, nausea, and difficulty concentrating. They have a really bad time of it. At the more extreme end, sufferers have been known to insulate their houses with aluminium foil to keep radiation out. And the forthcoming 5G is going to require a huge number of new transmitters and masts and so on, so people are really worried about it. The World Health Organization, however, does not recognize electromagnetic sensitivity as a real thing. Studies have suggested that symptoms could be caused by other environmental factors, and the majority of academic research concludes that mobile phone radiation does not pose any significant threat to human health. And whether it's a fair characterization or not, a lot of people would look at these anti-5G campaigners as conspiracy theorists, complete with tin hats. Well, let's see. Let's take them seriously for a moment here, because it worries them. 08000 288 291. David Drew is the Labour MP for Stroud. Good afternoon.
Hello, Jeremy.
What's it brought this to your attention, David?
Well, obviously, I've got this campaign group, but I've met people over the years who clearly are very sensitive to electroconvulsive various ways in which this change in technology is impacting on them. Now, I know that always the accusation is psychosomatic, but genuinely I've met people who had to take smart meters out, get neighbours take smart meters out, and their quality of life as a result has improved. Now, it may be that this is a small number of people, but for those people, life is a misery, and we've just got to be aware of it.
Have you got any idea why this pressure group might be Stroud-based? Is there something going on there in particular?
No, I mean, we tend to start things off like Extinction Rebellion, so we're well known for our sort of radical antecedents. But this is something which is quite genuine, that people want to know how this technology is going to be rolled out. The biggest problem is that, as far as I know, it will imply more masks, and those masks will be, banging out more radiation on a short-term basis, so that is going to have an impact on people's lives on a more regular basis. I mean, there are accusations that you're going to have masks on telephone poles and so on. Now, I know some of this is alarmist, but there are ways in which we need to look at the precautionary principle to identify what some of the impacts on people's lives are going to be, because it's already there. I mean, here I always make the jibe that we could do with 3G before we even talk about 4 and 5G. I mean, in the countryside, we need technology, but we want the technology that's already out there working properly. Why are we rushing into new, improved services when we haven't got the existing ones, which, do have an impact, but maybe more of a positive impact?
But if you were successful and someone said, OK, we'll pause on 5G, there'd be a heck of a backlash, wouldn't there, from businesses and so on?
Well, we're already having a debate on Huawei, aren't we, about whether we've got a Chinese state company using the data that it will collect for nefarious reasons. Isn't it sensible we also look at some of the science behind this? The reality is that many of the people who are the so-called independent scientific experts are in reality paid through the companies in one way or another, through research grants and so on. So are they genuinely independent? Can they allay people's views? Can they just tell us that some of the things that will come, they're always bad sides of technology. They're not always these wonderful improvements that we make them out to be. Can we just have a delay till we get some proper scientific investigation about what the impact will be, maybe on a minority of people, but for those minority people, their lives will be worse than they would have been if this technology was not being introduced in the pretty, hell-for-leather way in which it has been.
Thank you very much, David Drew, the Labour MP for Stroud. Sammy Harmon lives nearby in the Stroud Valleys. Hi, Sammy.
Oh, hi.
And I know that for you it is a very real thing, this electrosensitivity.
Yes, it is. I mean, radiation hypersensitivity, let's call it what it is. It's radiation sickness, and it's not only sickness and ill health, but it can kill people, and it has killed people. I've been suffering from it for about 30 years, from when I first worked on the Financial Futures Exchange years ago, and many of my colleagues got affected then. Symptoms start off with headaches, migraines, exhaustion, pain in your legs, but this, because it's accumulative from pulse microwave frequencies, this gets to the point where your brain, you can feel your brain overheating, pain in the heart, neurological cardiovascular problems, speech problems, fertility problems, mental health, memory loss. These pulse microwave frequencies hit the hippocampus in the brain, which stores our memory and long-term memory. We've got an absolute mental health crisis. We've got a fertility crisis going on. And we've also got, problems with, with memory, with dementia. My mum, bless her, being one of those.
So actually, you're thinking that this might be affecting all of us, but we just haven't clocked it yet.
Well, the thing is, there's over 2 million people in this country already that are already affected by this that know. But if you think I've been affected for 30 years, the first 10 years I was getting sick. In the second decade, I started feeling those frequencies because the damage to the myelin sheath becomes, so bad.
I don't know where that sheath is. Is that in the brain?
It's the coating that covers the central nervous system.
Right.
So you're in constant nerve pain through the whole body.
When did you work out? I say work out as assuming that your account of it is correct. When did you work out this was caused by data or Wi-Fi?
I've never had it in my home. It's been coming from my neighbours, but the places where I used to work, and also in the environments of where I've lived. I've lived near a police tetramast and five mobile phone masts.
But it might not be that. It could be something else.
I beg to differ, because when the body becomes so exposed and so under attack from these frequencies that the body degenerates so much that, I've been bedbound. I've had times for years where I've just not been able to go out. My children have been my carers. You've got me on a really good day, and so I can have a voice, but it's like the times that you can't function at all.
Understood. Do you have to protect yourself with tin foil, which is something that I've heard other people doing?
I've got 2 layers of microwave radiation material at my windows. I had a stroke 2 years ago from moving in from my neighbours either side of me from all their smart meters. One had them, 2 of hers removed in order to help me, and my health started to improve somewhat. I was still challenged, but there was a big difference. But she's now had them reinstated. Within an hour, I collapsed on my kitchen floor.
Oh, what, an hour the Wi-Fi goes in?
Within an hour of those smart meters.
And did they tell you it was going in?
She didn't give me warning, no.
So you couldn't have known it was being installed, but you collapsed?
I could, because I was looking out the window, because I could hear a van pull outside my house, and then watched the guy and asked him what he was doing, and he said he was putting in second-generation smart meters. But you've got to understand that people like myself can feel these frequencies. Once the body's that damaged, you're actually feeling those, and your heart becomes entrained to that frequency, so the pain in the nerves in your heart is letting you know.
If we were in the same room and I had my mobile phone with me, would you know if it was about to ring?
I would know. I wouldn't necessarily know whether it's going to ring or not, but I could certainly feel that you'd have it on. I always know when my friends' phones are on around me or in a car, because I get terrible pains in my head. My face starts to go into paralysis. I get heart pains. I feel very, very unwell, and my body starts to implode, and I can collapse.
Okay, Sammy, thank you. It's a very powerful account of the fears, particularly over the rollout of 5G as it comes in. Now, let's just get a scientific voice here. Professor Malcolm Sperrin has been listening, fellow at the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Medicine. What do I make of that, Malcolm?
I think it's, well, the first thing we've got to say is that patients report symptoms honestly, so we've got no problems about that. The difficulty we've got is trying to associate their reports and their findings with the supposed link to electromagnetic fields. Now, there's always going to be a case for more research, and a lot of research has been done, but nothing so far has conclusively proved that there is actually a link. And indeed, some work has been done in the past on a link between electrosensitivity and electromagnetic fields, and there's been found to be no provable correlation between the two. So you can turn on a device and some people will say they've recorded it, other people will say they haven't. So it's very difficult to understand where that link actually is. But something else which is very often overlooked, first of all, the power you get is extremely low on the mobile phones. They're essentially very, very, very sensitive recording devices or receiving devices, so the power in itself is actually very low. But also a rather more subtle point is that for those of us that actually remember the old AM radios, when you could hear lightning strike, the radio used to crackle. And of course, what that tells you is that we've been surrounded by electromagnetic fields for hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And as far as we know, there has been no proven health detriment.
Have we got any figures on cancer of the right side of the head? Because that's the where most people hold their mobile phone.
Yeah.
And I know there were worries initially that would be an indication.
Yeah, I mean, again, work has been done on this, but sometimes people are saying that they're reporting the increased incidence in certain types of cancer in the brain. Now, what we think has happened with that is that we don't think that's an increase in the overall number of cancers, but the improvement in the ability to diagnose certain types of cancers may manifest itself in an apparent increase in those specific cancers. That doesn't mean to say that those cancers have been caused by the mobile phone. It just means that we're better at recording them and characterising them.
It's just so difficult when I appreciate you're the expert, you know stuff, you've done the science, but the previous speaker is so powerfully associates her symptoms, as you say, honestly reported,
yes,
with Wi-Fi and mobile. And if it's not that, what could be making her ill? What do you think?
Well, I struggle to find an answer to that. I mean, there could be environmental factors, there could be any one of a number of different factors. And I think the way the science has to work, it has to be evidence-based. And the evidence is what correlates between a finding and a cause. And certainly the links between health and electrosensitivity hasn't been identified as a link with the use of Wi-Fi, mobile phones, electrosensitivity, and so on. We just cannot find that link.
Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. Professor Malcolm Sperrin of the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Medicine.
I think I was...
I'll say Sperrin. So it is electromagnetic radiation caused by Wi-Fi and 4G, 5G, etc., and the fears and whether it causes illness and so on. Of course, some people say this is just fake news. Cameron Guthrie in Crawley, West Sussex, says, my wife actually put up a piece on Facebook about the truth behind how dangerous 5G is going to be. And within 1 hour, the post had been removed because it was fake news. And that's because it doesn't fit the narrative of the incredibly rich high-tech industry. So it is now impossible to find the truth. Let's see, you may be somebody who suffers or you think you suffer with this. Sorry to couch it, but it's just that we got the scientist saying it's not real and then the sufferer saying she's got it. And I just don't know how to judge it. Myra McCobb in County Fermanagh says, my 2 weeks in Edinburgh were ruined by my experience with 5G. 4G sounds like whistling in my head. 5G feels like a wild tiger in my head. I had to get checked by the doctor because I had heart palpitations, shortness of breath and sore eyes. It was all because of electromagnetic sensitivity. John Noble is listening in Northampton. You think that this is, with all respect to those who suffer, this is rubbish?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more testing, but I think that maybe on the people that are suffering from it. Now, there is people, obviously, that point at aeroplanes and call the fumes coming out of them chemtrails. They've also probably seen a few UFOs and ghosts as well, Jeremy.
Yeah, chemtrails, the idea that those white lines of sort of vapour from the plane could actually be almost like pesticide or something.
Yeah, chemicals that will control us, Jeremy, apparently. I think I'd stick them in the same box. What I would do is probably test the people, maybe a little placebo, maybe a 5G, and stick them all in a box, one with 5G, one without, and let's see if they still get hum.
Well, let's see. We stay there. Wendy Boland is in Dawlish in beautiful Devon, and Wendy, you are probably quite affronted by what John has just said.
Oh, absolutely. I totally ditto what Sally said. I've suffered from it for 12 years, and it's ruined my life. I've spoken to medical students at Exeter Hospital about this, and
What's the worst symptom?
Which
What's
was the worst pain I got from all this sensitivity? And Wi-Fi is dreadful. I get nausea, bad stomach pains, racing heart. I've been carted off to hospital twice, eyes aching, nerve pain in my arms and legs, and heart palpitations. It's horrendous.
What's the worst symptom for you?
The worst is the Wi-Fi, and it's the pain that I've just said.
But which part of your body is worse affected?
The whole body is affected badly, and particularly my heart and my stomach. And I live in a court here, and my neighbours are kind enough to turn their Wi-Fi's off at night, so that I can sleep.
Okay, and John, it's very powerful, this.
It's wonderful. I mean,
John, hang on. Wendy, hang on. John.
Sounds like a bit of a nightmare neighbour, maybe. I don't know. I would.
You want to have just an hour of this, the pain we get from modern technology. There's nothing like it. It's horrendous.
I gather
it's ruined our lives. And I'm a very strong person.
I don't understand how
be lying to you about it.
It doesn't make sense. How are you different in human form to anyone else?
Hang on, Wendy. Go on. Listen to him first, Wendy. Then what do you want to say, Wendy?
What do I want to say?
Yes.
All that I've said, that it has ruined our lives.
And I gather you've also got...
Jeremy, just one thing before I leave your programme. E.S.-UK info is the website all about this electrosensitivity. E.S.-UK info.
Okay, and you've even got genital sores from it, I understand.
Genital sores from it as well.
Okay.
The whole works. And my life was wonderful before I'm 80 now.
Oh.
And I will say this, that modern technology will be responsible for the destruction of the human race. It's already starting. What it's doing to our body